Today we're going to venture back into one of my favorite childhood animes. We're going to do Card Captor Sakura again. And we're going to be doing a lot of these because I intend to make a whole set from the anime for a convention that I'm going to next year. So I want to be trying to work on them pretty consistently throughout the year. I will of course be posting some other videos about other projects, but Card Captor Sakura will be a consistent theme throughout the year, hopefully. So the plans for this project is to make myself Card Captor Sakura and then to make the cards for the people who are going with me. For this particular video, I'll be making one of the cards for my sister. So I will be making the Hope card or the Nothing card. They're the same card, just one has a heart and one does not. Maybe we'll use it interchangeably throughout the video. I don't quite recall what I said at any one time, but this is a very simple card. She doesn't have a lot going on, which makes it so much easier to be able to make a costume for somebody else, which I have only done one other time and it was not quite as fitting as I would have liked. But the Nothing card is the card that is the movie card. So it's the last card that she captures and is one of my favorite ones. So let's get started on it.
First, I need to make a general pattern for my sister. I plan to use this in the future, so I didn't go too specific on the pattern. I will fix it later so that it actually is the pattern that I want for this project.
I put the thing on her and the bust was way too big. So the back looked fine. I might just maybe make the back armhole just a little bit bigger because I was noticing one of the reasons that I thought the waistline was too tight was because when I put it on her, it would get caught back here and I had to tug it forward in order for it to sit where it was supposed to. So I might just add a little bit of space just in the back armhole to account for that. The front, however, I had to take out a whole bunch of space down the front, but it looks like it's really just the space that was expanded for the bust cup, so I will be actually making it smaller. I think it's even smaller than it should have been in the pattern. So I still don't know what size bust cup she is because apparently whatever happened with the measurements weren't good. They were not good at all. And then the other thing I noticed is that it does seem like the waistline was a little bit angled down and a little bit low in the front. So I'm gonna bring it up a little bit, and it was a little tight in the front too, just like a little tiny bit right here. So when I bring it up, I'm also going to bring it forward a little bit. That's what I'm gonna do for the next pattern piece. Unfortunately, I will not be able to film that because my camera is dying. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a new bodice block for the front pattern, or alter the one I currently have. I don't think I have to start from the scratch like I did on this one, but I will alter the one that I currently have, and then it's not until next week that I'm going to have the ability to try it on my sister. But the dress that I'm working on, I want to be done by next week so that we can take pictures. So I think because the way that dress is, it's a very loose dress. It's just kind of hanging from straps, I think. I'm not even going to put sleeves on the blue dress. I will on the white dress. But either way, there's no like real shaping around the waist on that dress. It's very much just hang and flow kind of dress. So after I make the new bodice block without doing any measurements, I'm just gonna start working on the actual dress because I'm not going to be doing any of the darts and stuff, which is what's causing this part to be too small. This part fits just fine and might even be a little too big, but this part is too small. So if I don't put the darts in, this part will be a lot looser and it won't be a problem. And the back is fine, so we're good. Yeah, so I'm gonna go redo my bodice block while the camera is charging. Hopefully I'll be able to make the pattern for the blue dress. I'm gonna start with the blue dress and then I'm gonna move on to the white dress in a couple of days. I just got home from a hike and guess what I found waiting for me? That's right, it's box opening time. Now I don't actually know what's in these packages. I think they're the fabrics that I've been waiting for my next project, but they could be part of my current project. So we'll see how it goes. But before we do that, I wanted to show you what fabrics I already have, which is why we have this fabric here. This is my Ever After middle gown that I recently posted, and I have a little bit of that fabric left. I am hoping it'll be enough for the project, but we'll see how it goes. So without further ado, let's open the packages. Okay. So this is light blue tulle fabric for party event decorations. This is 5 yards of fabric. All right, it definitely feels polyester, but it looks like it's probably got a nice flow to it. Let's see. That'll be fun. Now for the other package. Let's see what's in the other one. This is the other fabric. Not so nice feeling, but that's to be expected whenever it's this kind of fabric. It always feels very plasticky. But there's 11 yards of this one. Not bad, not bad. Not as much as the other one, but it'll be fun. Okay. Here's my thought. I do still have to get some cotton for the base of the dress so that it won't just be sheer. But the thought is to do, hold on, we got this, is to do this so that we have a bit of a magical feel. You can kind of sort of see the little bit of the nice magical underneath dress. So I'll have the cotton and then the like plasticky kind of feeling one, and then the nice flowy tulle on top so that you can see mostly the blue, but you'll see a little bit of that shine through.
But back to making the pattern for the blue dress. I'm not going to make a full pattern because the skirt would be too annoying to draw out on paper and would be kind of a waste. But all I'm doing here is tracing the bodice block that I have already made, and then I will be kind of sort of pulling it down. I did take in the waist a little bit at the side seam because I'm going to get rid of the darts, but I just want to make sure that I do all of the alterations since this is my final pattern, and then I'll just cut it out. Now, I do want to say I made a mistake. I used the measurement from the waist down to the skirt to decide how much I needed to add to this pattern later, and then realized that I had accidentally added it from the back down to the skirt, so the skirt was too short. Then I'll cut it out of my cheaper cotton fabric that will be easy to replace, just to see how it will actually work before getting to my more expensive pretty fabric.
I've just made a really stupid mistake. When I did the pattern, I measured it so that it would be 38 inches, I think, is the measurement to the ankle. But I think what I did is I accidentally measured from the neckline to the ankle and not from the waistline to the ankle, which is what the measurement was on my book. So when I just cut the bottom of the skirt off, I have made it way too short. So now I have to decide. I'm trying to use less money on these projects because I have a tendency to not look at what I have in stock and just go to the store and get more of a fabric and just deal with it. But this fabric is now cut. There's nothing I can do to fix it. However, the piece that I am currently cutting and that I have made too short is the back panel. So I have three options. The first is to go and buy another thing of fabric, which I don't want to do because I don't want to use that money since I'm going to try to use it elsewhere. The second is to sew that bottom panel back on and just have that bottom panel with a weirdo seam kind of thing. And the third is to make the lining fabric, which this is the lining fabric, make the lining fabric shorter than the rest of the fabric, because as you know I have the two tulle fabrics, which are really what's supposed to be making the magical effect, but I was afraid of like her legs showing through, so well, I was afraid of her whole body showing through, but like in the actual pictures there's no visibility through the dress at all. So like I was gonna have it all be the same length, but now I'm like, should I just make it shorter and kind of layer it longer so that like the lowest layer is the shortest and then the middle layer is a little bit longer and then the last layer is a little bit longer? So I'm gonna need to think about this for a minute. This is the lining of the dress, so I'm currently technically wearing it inside out because, well, actually no, this is probably right way out because the tulle is going to be on top, so you still want the seams to be inside. This is the lining. Luckily my sister is a similar size to myself, so I can put it on without much issue. And I didn't film the sewing of this because I'm going to film the sewing of the overlayers, and I just wanted to, I was frustrated with it anyway, so I was not wanting to really film it all that much. And it's a very loose dress. I'm not a huge fan of a loose dress myself. I don't like when they don't at least accentuate a little bit of that, but this particular dress is supposed to be very loose. She does not have a lot going on. Next thing to do, I think that I'm going to try to make the overlayers a little bit more loose because there was very much a skirt movement on the picture, and this one is very straight and not doing much. So I think what I'm going to try to do, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to try to put side gores in or if I'm just going to try to make the back a little bit bigger. Normally I'd put in a back gore or something like that, something to just kind of widen the back so you have a little bit more of the flow on the skirt. The problem is every additional thing like that you put in is gonna have seams, so I'm hesitant to do that. Oh, and the fix that I decided on is, I don't know if you can see it, probably not, which is probably a good thing. So right here, I actually wound up putting the bottom panel back on. So instead of trying to do some weirdo layered skirt kind of thing, I just put the bottom panel back on, and it's not going to be visible since it's the back anyway, and you couldn't even see it on the camera, I think. Right now the collar is completely wrong and the arms are a little tight, but that is because the seam allowance is still here. I haven't taken away the seam allowance, I haven't cut into it or anything like that, so that is still there. I do really want to have more space, but unfortunately I have less of the blue tulle, which is the top tulle, than I have of the iridescent tulle, so I'm going to figure out what all I could do with what I have of the blue tulle and then pretty much repeat that on the iridescent tulle because you don't want the middle layer to be bigger than the upper layer. So that is the next step. I will say this blue is a little bit too dark, so I haven't decided. I think I'm going to sew everything, each of the dresses separately, and then layer them on top, and then if it's close to the color I'm looking for, then I'll be good, but otherwise I might actually dye this fabric to be a little bit more on the gray scale, maybe just a tad. I don't want it to be a lot more gray, but this is too bright and happy. Although the Hope card is supposed to be a happy card, her original dress is the Nothing, which is a more drab color and very dark and stuff, and as far as I can tell, the coloring doesn't much change until she turns into the pink card, which, although my deck is the pink cards, I like the original cards better than when she remakes them into the pink cards, because the original cards are more gender neutral, and especially since I'm making these costumes for both men and women, I don't want to have a very pink cast. So for this case, I prefer the original Clow cards rather than the pink Sakura cards, which includes the Nothing slash the Hope card. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. It's not very comfortable because it's very tight on my arms, but it is a good sign that it seems to fit me. I think I'm actually a little bit bigger than my sister, so there will be a little bit more flow, but I definitely would prefer to have just a tad bit more, so I'm going to do what I can to add a little bit of extra movement into the skirt.
Now we can finally cut and sew the pretty fabrics. I've decided to use a French seam as these fabrics are sheer and I want the seam to be as finished as possible without having to do extra stitches.
So at this moment, I hate this dress. Not because it looks terrible, I just think it's too boring. Especially if you remember when I was wearing it earlier, it was very flat and there wasn't much going on. I do really like the layering of the fabrics. So the top fabric is not sewn at all, and the middle fabric is sewn on the sides but not on the shoulders. But if we layer it together, it does look very ethereal, that's nice. But it's still, the actual shape of it is very flat. And then also, I mentioned it before that I was considering dyeing the blue fabric, the lining fabric, a little bit more gray. And I do think I'm going to do that because it looks too bright. It's even with this all on it, and I think I want the bottommost color to be darkest so that it looks kind of like a shadow, whereas right now the bottommost color is actually the brightest. So I will be trying to dye that fabric with a bit of gray. Now the one unfortunate thing about that is that I only have polyester dye. I'm pretty sure I have gray. I'm not absolutely certain, but I'm pretty sure, and if I do, it's probably polyester dye. So I will have to figure out exactly how I'm going to dye it, if it's even going to work, because this fabric, I believe, is mostly cotton, if a little bit of polyester. And I don't know, I think there was one time I tried to dye cotton with polyester dye and it didn't work well. So we'll see how that'll work.
And I'll go ahead and finish up the sewing for the side seams just to use up some time while I wait for the dye to set.
I finished sewing all of the seams on the dresses, so I wanted to try on the whole thing to see how the color situation was working, starting with the blue underlining. I did wind up dyeing it with some gray polyester dye, which didn't quite work. It did make it so that it's a darker blue than it was, but it's still very much a blue. So I'm going back and forth between whether or not I really want to dye it even darker, because if I do that, I'd have to go to the store and actually get some gray cotton dye. But for now, I just want to try all of the dresses on together to see how the color combination will look. And there's the middle gown. This one is literally just here for the iridescence. And then this one definitely has an interesting color combination. It looks like the liquid fabric, which I'm very surprised by. It's very flowy. I like it, I think. I was afraid of the seams from the lower skirts peeking through on the top skirt, especially because my side has these gores in it, which I don't know if you can see, but it's got the side gores in it, and I was afraid that if you could see the seams of the middle gown through, it would look weird to have the seams in a different place. But it looks like this blue is just opaque enough that you can not see any of the seams or anything, but just sheer enough that you can still see the iridescence and the color underneath. So I actually think I'm happy with this. I did not think I was going to like it. I am still very much iffy on whether or not I like the flow of it. I still feel like I wish I had more skirts, but seeing as I don't have any more fabric for this project, this is as good as it's gonna get. Still though, I'm gonna put you guys a little bit lower so that I can at least try a twirl and see how that'll look. Alright, not horrible, but I really need to iron this dress, especially the middle gown, so I'm gonna go do that now.
And since the skirts are now acceptable, if not as full as I would have liked, I can go ahead and finish the armholes by attaching all three of the dresses together. First, and then I'll add some bias tape to the edge. This is very much not the color that I would want, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to flip the bias tape inside and hand sew it down so that you will not be able to see it through the sheer fabric at all.
Okay, I was just gonna film while not having my cat in my arms, but he doesn't normally get this comfortable, so we're just gonna have to go with it. As you can see behind me right there, the dress is almost done. The collar and the armhole is completely done. My other cat is jealous that I have this one in my arms, but I can't give them both attention at the same time. So the collar and the armholes are done. Really the only thing that's left is the hem. Oh goodness. Hello, hello. Okay. Alright, hold on. Okay. The only thing left is the hem, which is really just weathering the hem. So I have to even it out because there's definitely some places where it didn't line up as to be expected because I didn't really use a pattern for the length of the skirt. So I need to even it out, and then immediately after evening out, I have to make it jagged to do the kind of weathered look that the bottom of that skirt has. I did find this fabric here, which I don't remember what the purpose of this fabric is, but I don't think it's enough for the coat. And we still have, this was the original fabric that I was going to use for the coat. Also, not really sure if I have enough of this. So I need to pattern out the coat fabric and decide whether or not I need to go to the store, because it's probably going to take a lot of fabric. And I think I only have like maybe 1.5 yards of this one and maybe like 1 yard of that one. And I really want to line this so it gets a little bit more fluffy than just a plain coat. So there's a lot to get done. I was really hoping to finish by tomorrow so that I could go ahead and do the photo op with my sister tomorrow so that we could do the reveal. But it's looking very much like that's not going to happen.
So while I absolutely avoid doing that, I'm gonna work on some of these little baubles. I have to figure out exactly how I want to make the gems that she wears on her head and hair and clothes. Right now I'm attempting 2 different methods, one where I paint the top of these little seed things and one where I paint the bottom of the little seed things, just to see which one might look more gem-like.
So I did 2 attempts at the jewel, and I have, this one is already dry. I don't think this one worked. It's very pretty and the reflection is very good. It's too light in my opinion. I think the reason for that is because I did a layer of silver before doing the blue, for the sake that I wanted a little bit of sparkle, and I was hoping that if I put some silver in I'd get some sparkle without dulling the blue. Unfortunately that is not the case. And there's some that's like really silver, like you can't see blue on that one at all. It is a pretty gem, it's just not the blue that I was hoping for. The other blue ones, I'm waiting for them to dry because they have the nail polish on top of them now. The just the top coat nail polish, because the paint and the medium gloss varnish was not giving it enough shine to really bring out the jewel tones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the nail polish to dry, which shouldn't take too long. And if the nail polish dries and it's got that glow to it, then I will move on with those ones. But if not, I don't want to waste too many of these guys because I might use them for a future project. But at the same time, I have all of these. So I might just go ahead and do at least one gem using the back method and just see how it looks from the top, so that just to be able to compare them. Although my other concern is also attaching it to the dress and or hair, because I will probably be hot gluing it to stuff. So on the dress it'll be hot glued directly to the dress, and on the hair it'll probably be hot glued to some clips. And then of course there's this middle one, which that's for the nothing, not the hope. But I think right now I'm gonna work on just doing the nothing, because in order to do the hope I also have to make the pillow and stuff, and I don't really want to take the time to do that at the moment. So when I eventually am going to wear these to a convention, well, I'm not going to, my sister is going to, but whenever I eventually have this for my sister to wear, I would like it to be the hope, so I will have to make a star. So I'll have to make a star for now. But for at least the reveal, I think we're just going to do the nothing card. Okay, my stand is in the other room, and I'm gonna go over there in a second anyway, so I'm not bringing it out here just to talk about some gems. But I did want to talk about real fast. I did try to do another one of the bottom blues without the silver bit, and it is a little bit darker, but not enough, I think. It's still very light, and you can see the bubbles and stuff on it. It's pretty, but like not really what I'm looking for. And then I have this one, which is one of the ones that was painted on top blue, and then the nail polish is on top. And as you can see the, well, maybe if it'll focus, there you go. You can see the light coming through it, which won't be such a big deal because it'll be like on the, well, let's get you some light. It'll be like on the forehead, but it's still not as pretty as I would have liked. Like, I really want some more texture than that. It'll work for now, but I was thinking about it. I have the stuff to make a mold, so I might just take one of these guys and make a mold of it, and then pour resin, because I also have, I have a little bit of resin, and I have blue sparkly, which I think would probably do the, whatever I'm trying to do with this, much better than these guys are doing. So for now, I'm gonna stick with these if I can get the project done in time to go to the reveal tomorrow. But I think in the final product, I will probably use resin, because the resin that I have takes like 2 days to dry, so I don't want to waste my time trying to get that to work if I'm gonna be able to do the reveal tomorrow. So
For the coat pattern, I'm using the same pattern as I used for the blue dress, but I'm cutting open the front, and I went ahead and went all the way down to the skirt just so I could decide how I wanted these little feathery bits to sit, but I'm not actually going to follow that pattern.
okay, so I have set out the coat portion of the coat on this fabric. This is the heavier weight fabric. Right here, I don't know if you can see because they're both white, but you can maybe just barely see. I have a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of space right here. And then I've got a maybe half a yard up there, but probably less than that. For hopefully the sleeves will go in that section up there. But I think I have enough fabric. And then that white fabric, the one that you can't see is off screen, but I'm not going to go grab it because I'm going to mess this up. That is almost the same length and width as this fabric. It's slightly shorter, so I'm hoping that it'll still be okay. That slightly shorter as in the long way it's shorter. So I'm hoping it'll still be okay. I'm hoping I will have some extra space with the sleeves. I'm planning on hopefully putting the sleeves so that they are like this is my arm. Like that is the direction that the sleeve will go on the fabric. So perpendicular to the long way. I put my arm out on the fabric, and although it doesn't look like it at this angle, it was it was longer than my arm. So, but that's not considering the space that you have to put in for a shoulder. So I'm a little concerned about that, but my sister is also shorter than me, so I think her arm length will probably be shorter than mine. I was gonna use a pre-made sleeve pattern, but unfortunately the pattern that I already have cut out, the sleeve is missing because I usually use a pre-made sleeve pattern and I'm too lazy to make one myself, but apparently that's not going to work this time because it's missing. I don't know what I did with it. So I will be making I needed to make one anyway, but I will be making a pattern for the sleeve, and then I will see for sure if I can cut everything out of this fabric. And that'll determine whether or not I'll even be able to finish it today, because I can't. It is too late for me to be able to, well, I could, technically at this point I could still go to Michael's and get more fabric, but by the time I finish the sleeve pattern, I probably won't have enough time to do that. So let me go do the sleeve pattern, and hopefully I'll know whether or not I can be done tonight.
I forgot to mention earlier that I am using a book that I found on Amazon to do all of these patterns. It's kind of steps you through the whole process of making them. It's supposed to be a fashion textbook for like if you're going to fashion college, but you can find it cheaper if you get the soft cover version, because the hardcover version is like over $100, and I was not going to spend that kind of money.
I had literally the perfect amount of fabric left to cut out the coat on both the overcoat and the lining. Unfortunately, there is a stain on the back of the over fabric. It's at the bottom, and I didn't notice it until after I had cut out the fabric. Unfortunately, that's just gonna have to be there. Hopefully I can disguise it a little bit when I put the feathering bits in for the coat, but that's a later issue. It is now 10 o'clock at night, and I am going to have to stop now. It does mean that I can correctly do the jewels, and one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I don't want to rush the things that I'm not used to. Like, I've never done a collar before, and I still have to make that, and I don't even know if I have white thread, so I have to look. Well, I have white thread, but I've been doing a lot of white sewing on my Ever After gown recently, so I have white thread, but I don't think I have a lot of it. I might have to go to the store and get some white thread, and it's just, there's no point in me trying to race through the coat right now when I still also have to make the headpiece, and I have to brush the wig out that I'm planning on using, and so it's just, it's not worth it. So maybe next weekend I will get the reveal done. We will see. For now, good night.
This one I'm just going to do some regular seams. Since it's going to be lined, I don't have to worry about finishing the seams and making sure they won't fray.
Alright, this isn't the most comfortable position, but this one doesn't normally want to cuddle, so we're going to deal with it. I went ahead and sewed, oh, there we go. Okay, so the coat bodice is sewed together. I was a little concerned that maybe the two whites wouldn't go together, because this is an off-white, whereas this, the lining is very much a white, but they're close enough that you really, like, you can tell there's a difference between the front and the lining, but not enough to be like, oh my gosh, why did you not pick the same color? But I have the bodice sewn together, and you can see there's the feathering effect isn't here yet. I'm gonna put that in when it's all together. I didn't want to try to cut that out and then have my fabric fray and then have to deal with that. So I'm gonna sew it together and then cut it out, and hopefully that'll work a little bit better. You know, this bun does not want to stay straight. I still had to do the sleeves, though I was a little hesitant to finish the sleeves before I decided, because I was honestly considering maybe flipping this the other way so that this fabric was the lining and the shiny white fabric is the outer portion, but I just think it looks better to have the flat white on the outside. I really like the way that it's falling in the front here. I've done a similar coat when I did my tea gown a little bit ago, and it didn't have this open effect to it. I don't know what I did differently this time. I really don't. But I really like how it looks. So I am happy with the look of it. So what I need to do now is draw in the feathers, and I am a little afraid to do that. So I might procrastinate by going ahead and doing the sleeves. I can't attach the sleeves until lining is attached to the main body, but I can at least sew them together to themselves. So let's do that. We have sleeves. I wish they were a little bit wider because in the pictures they did have like a lot more space kind of down here, but I only really have that much. It's a limit of fabric. There's nothing I can do about that, but I do like it. I feel like it's a little bit short. But that's just me. I do really like it. I have to iron it. There's some like real bad kind of wrinkling on the edges here, so I at least have to iron the seams. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, but first I am hungry, so I skipped lunch because I've been working on this and didn't realize what time it was. So I'm gonna go ahead and have a brownie because you know how healthy that is, before I get on to my least favorite part of sewing, which is the ironing portion. Actually, I just had a thought. While I was eating my brownie, I was looking at my dress and I realized there's something you should always do if you don't have like a straight hem, and that is to let the skirt slash coat slash whatever hang for a day or two so that it can pull out any of the stretch from the warp of the fabric. And this front particularly is probably going to do that. Not only is it probably going to do that, it's also two different fabrics, so they are going to fall in a different way. So I think I'm actually going to let it hang for a day or two to make sure that these fabrics will, if this lining stretches more than the over fabric, the lining will be visible on the outside and that'll just look weird, and that is not what I'm looking for. So I want the over fabric to be the bigger portion. So I'm going to let it sit and let it hang out any of its stretching that it's going to get. Yes, this is a little bit because I want to put off ironing, but it's a good reason too to not actually have to do it. I should probably iron it beforehand, but you know what? I'm not going to. Because once I take it off of this thing, I'm drawing in the feathers and I'm working on it the next time. So, the blue dress has been sitting for several days. I could work on that one, but I'm waiting to work on that one because I want to see exactly how it's going to look under the white coat. So I think I'm going to take a break for today and maybe work on some other stuff. I don't remember if I said turns out that I was not going to get it done in time to film the reveal this weekend, so I'm going to film it next weekend, and I think I'm going to post on Monday, which is when I'm going to post the Ever After. I'm trying to work towards posting on like a Friday or a Saturday because I just think they're better days to post. But at the same time, like if I do that, then I do not get the chance to do the reveal a couple of days beforehand because I can only really do a reveal, especially if I'm using somebody else on the weekend. Specifically for my sister, I can only do it on a Sunday. So for now, I'm going to put this off, maybe do some scheduling and maybe some other tasks. And now I gotta go get my cat out of my pantry because apparently I didn't close the door all the way.
So after letting it hang for a bit, and while it's still hanging, I'm just pinning the fabrics together because I want them to be the same length when they're hanging. And then I can just cut them to the same length now that I've got them laid out on the ground. It's not the most scientific method, but I think it works. And then I'll do the best I can to draw back in the feathers as evenly as possible, so that I can sew them in place right here. But I don't think it worked exactly like I wanted it to.
Lighting is horrible. It is nighttime. I apologize. But I have just finished sewing all of the little feather bits, and I'm trying to talk myself into cutting them out so that I can flip the coat inside out and finally see how it will look, and possibly try to get the sleeves on tonight so that I can try to hand sew them at work tomorrow. I don't know though, it's already past my bedtime, but at the same time today is Thursday and I told my sister that I wanted to do a photo shoot of this project on Sunday. So I need to cut the feathers out, turn the coat inside out, attach the sleeves. I haven't even thought about a collar yet because I keep forgetting about its existence. I still need to do the bottom of the blue skirt, and I have not even attempted to work on the headpiece. So I'm just kind of like trying to decide how exactly I want to do this. I think I probably will just be done for tonight because honestly I don't think that I can get up the courage to cut this out at the moment. So if I finish the coat tomorrow, or at least finish the body of the coat and add the sleeves, then I can possibly work on the headband tomorrow. I'm probably gonna do the collar last because I've never done a collar well, so we'll see how that goes. So I think the headband I can at least look at, or the hairpiece. I need to find, I think I have the alligator clips. I don't have a headband because I realized later on that actually the wings are the back of the head rather than the side of the head. So if I can maybe make the wings tomorrow. I also forgot about the heart-shaped thing with the wings for that. I think that probably won't happen for this video. I will eventually do it, maybe when I do Kiro-chan in the future. Just kind of do a couple of like little characters, which does mean that this is actually the nothing card rather than the hope card, but I don't think that's the end of the world.
Since this fabric doesn't fray too horribly, I decided my best bet was to make the seam allowance as close to the stitching as possible so that when I turned it out, I wouldn't have to worry about puckering around the curves.
Alright, I've just finished turning the coat inside out, and I don't think it turned out exactly as I had hoped. So each of the little finger pieces things, they will need to be ironed. Originally I had hoped not to iron them because I was hoping to leave them with a little bit of like poof to them, but they are for sure going to need to be ironed. But the other problem is you can see there's like it's pulling at each of the points, and that's just because I didn't do a great job of, I think what I should have done is done a like round edge so that I could cut it all the way up to the tip. In most of these pieces I was unable to cut it to the tip. So I think what I'm going to do now is probably unpick each of the little corners here and maybe hand sew a few stitches just to make sure that they are still stable and it won't undo the whole coat. It will put me behind a little bit, unfortunately, but it'll be worth it, I think. So I forgot to hit record while I was putting on the sleeves, but we have sleeves now, so there's that. They are a lot smaller than I would really like them to be, but otherwise I am happy with them. I did wind up deciding that there was no point in me doing like the full-on hiding the raw edges on the inside because this is for my sister. It's not like I'm selling this, so I can have raw edges, that's fine. So I just wound up cutting the seam allowances so that it would have movement, you know, like give some space. But so we have the notches in it instead of fully turning the edges so that you don't see any of the raw edges. I also wound up making some new gems. This is out of resin, so the back is real rough. I'm gonna have to like clean that up. But they do go, I like the color combination of them with this costume. I will say though, they're too small. So for now, they will work out for finishing this video, but probably before, if I enter this one into a cosplay contest, which is the plan, I will probably make bigger gems because they have to go here, they have to go here, they have to go in the hair, they have to go on the sleeve. So I definitely think I need bigger gems for the sake of things. Also, I will need in the future a star to go here because this is only when she's nothing. When she's the Hope card, she has that star, but that's gonna be probably a long time in the future before actually going to the con in it. For now, I am happy with how it is turning out. So I'm really, really happy with the look of, I was afraid I wouldn't like this like little like finger kind of piece, but I think in combination with the blue dress, I think it looks good. Maybe not when it's on the hanger so much, but I think when it's on a person, it will look good. So now I have to do the collar, I have to finish the hem of the blue dress, and I have to make the headpiece. And that all has to be done today because tomorrow morning is when I'm doing the photo shoot with my sister.
I am once again using my fashion book to make this collar pattern, but I think that I went a little bit wrong because the pattern in the book is for a small collar, and this one is more for like a sailor-sized pattern. So I need to figure out how to make this better, I think.
Alright, so I have a collar-ish. I've never really made a collar before, so we'll see if it works, but this is the collar. That does not look like it's gonna work. It's supposed to have, I guess, a 1-inch stand, so it's gonna fold like that, which is what it looks like in the picture, so that's good. However, I realized right before drafting the collar that I did not dye all of the blue fabric. I only dyed the portion that was the dress, but if I want to make the collar match the dress, then I also need to dye the blue fabric from the collar. So I took all of the scraps and I have now put it in a boiling water. You may be able to hear it in the background because it is right behind you. But I put it in boiling water and it's still got about 6 minutes for it to finish. I might have to add a little bit more gray dye because it doesn't seem to be doing anything. It just seems to have gotten wet. So there's a chance that all of the gray dye, because this is the same dye pot, so there's a chance that all of the gray dye was soaked up by the dress and there's not enough in there to do the rest of the fabric. So I might add a little bit of extra gray dye, and then of course I have to wait for it to air dry, so I can't work on the collar until probably this evening. So what I need to do now, I think I'm gonna do the hem of the dress so I can finish that off and then probably work on the headpiece.
First thing I need to do for this hem is even it out so that all of the skirts are the same length. And then once I'm done with that, I can now make them all rough and not the same length. I recently found this method where you gather up all of the skirts in your hand, or as much as you can, and then just kind of cut the top of it. Oh my gosh, it works so well. I'm so happy that I found this. Now for the synthetic ones, I did try using a burner to make sure that the ends wouldn't fray too much, but then decided it was just not going to work. And I tried 2 different burners, and neither of them worked. It was just better to just cut them. It's supposed to be rough anyway, so the even edges was just gonna look weird. And then apply a wire brush just to make sure that you get as rough as possible. For the headpiece, I just want a rough wing shape because I'm going to put feathers on it to make it look better later. And I wanted to have this kind of fur top of the wings because, you know, like the smaller bits of feathers look like fur at the top. And then I can glue some wire in between the two wings just so that they can keep their shape and I won't have to worry about them being weird. And then I can hot glue in all of my feathers. This took forever.
Okay, so I got both the wings done, but I can't get them to stay up, which is the same problem that I had with the Ever After gown. So that's fun. I think I'm gonna put a little like pouch thing and try to combine them so that there's like a square underneath, and hopefully they will stay up after that, and then I'll put clips on them. But these are what they look like. I tried to do a U-shaped thing for them, but I don't think that this wire is as strong as I was hoping, so it's not wanting to stay up like it's supposed to. So if I just hold the U shape, it just collapses. What I might do is I might put a little wire here. I have leftover wire from one of the bases. I might put a wire in that middle top section and then surround the whole thing in foam just to kind of sandwich it all together. And then I will attach these guys onto it to slip it into hair. And also I'm very upset because you certainly cannot see that, but I got myself real good right there with the hot glue, and it hurts.
Now back to the color that I may or may not have been putting off because I'm super afraid of doing it wrong. I used the same kind of feather method as I did for the coat, but I did round out the bottoms so that I wouldn't have that pulling, and I'm hoping that helps. Now just attach it to the coat, and we're done!
Okay, so this is my sister.
I've been kidnapped.
Who is very kindly modeling the dress that I made for her.
I'm here against my will.
So we're gonna do a little bit of a reveal shot thing and probably move the camera because we are way too bright right here. But we're gonna be on the bridge anyway. So first we got our wings.
Nobody saw that.
Sure. As you can tell, I did not in fact get home and talk about the costume as I said I would. But now we're going to talk about it. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. I definitely think it came across as the nothing card. I did not finish the heart in time or even start on the heart for the hope card, so it's definitely just the nothing card at this moment. But I think it turned out really well. It did look like the nothing card. It was very obviously that one. There was a few issues, one being the wig, because I just took a wig I already had and I didn't have enough time to style it or anything. So the wig is just kind of cheap. That's something that I'm gonna have to get a new wig or restyle the wig that I have before the con, but I have plenty of time to do that. I will probably wind up at the end of this whole series doing a overall what do I need to fix and what do I need to replace kind of thing for all of the projects that I'm able to get done. The other thing I did not like was the little baubles, the blue baubles, like the one on her head and her sleeve and on her hair. Because they were too small. I think that I would very much like, maybe the one on her head was probably a good size, but the ones on her hair and the one on her sleeve I believe was too small. And then something she complained about was the seams. I did not have enough time to finish the seams, so she did say they were a little scratchy, which is understandable and something that I can certainly fix in the future. But otherwise, I'm so happy with it. It came out looking so well. Oh, the collar. The collar is the only thing I do not like. I will probably replace the collar because it just looks so bad. I think I need a little bit more experience working with collars. So I will be pretty much immediately replacing the collar at the whenever I go to do the fixes and all that stuff. So that's a good thing I did not actually finish the next scene because I hate that collar so much. It looks so ugly. But other than that, I am super happy with the dress. I think it turned out so well, and I love the way that the 3 layers of blue work on top of each other to make this kind of magical effect. I don't know if it came through very well on the camera, but oh my gosh, it was so pretty in person. So happy with that. And if you're curious to see any of my future projects, whether it be Card Captor Sakura related or one of my other projects such as this dress, I hope you'll subscribe. If you have any comments, let me know. And if you give this video a thumbs up, that'll be a big help to me. Thank you. Bye.